Yeah, Bradley Manning is a 22-year-old soldier who's in prison for exposing what U.S. soldiers have been doing over in Iraq and in Afghanistan. He figured out how to release information that showed how people in the military murdered 12 civilians, and the callousness with which they talk about the murder of these people is quite shocking, or maybe not so shocking for some people.
It's like they're going to try and really punish him and make an example out of him.
They are trying to make an example out of him, but in
of this pattern of turkey shoot.
Yes, like a turkey shoot, like a turkey shoot. So actually, I am here to honor his courage. He's a very courageous young man, and he's in prison, and we want to put pressure on our government to release him and not make him an example, because we need more Bradley Mannings in positions like that.
I agree totally. Nowadays, cowardice is elevated to valor. Bradley Manning is a patriot in my mind.
Right.
And brave patriot. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. Well, you know, obedience to authority is held highly in our society, in our culture these days. But you know, when the authorities are committing crimes, when they are telling people to murder people, and they're looking another way at murder of innocent people, then we have a duty, as Bradley Manning did, to speak out and to do what you can to inform the public. We, the public, we have a right, we deserve to know what our tax money is going for.
And the pimps that control us, they got their way to make us dance all day and do exactly what they say. Oh. Everybody's out there hustling, even though they forget us, selling our souls all for a buck. Lose your name when you're out of luck. And the pimps that control us, they got their way to make us dance all day and do exactly what they say. Give me some overtime. Give me a cut and pay. Everybody's really a slut, doing that old 9-to-5 stride, working our bones off till we die. Working stiffs, don't ask why. And the pimps that control us, they've got their way to make us dance all day and do exactly what they say. Hell no! Thank you, guys.
He was the first active duty military resistor to go fight, to resist the Gulf War. He is the director of Courage to Resist and will be giving us an update on Bradley Manning's case.
We've done some pretty amazing cases. If you look at the case of Aaron Watada, the first officer who refused to fight in Iraq is now out of the Army without spending 1 day in prison. We freed Mark Hall, who was facing 5 years in prison for writing and singing an angry hip-hop song against the Army's stop-loss policy. We freed Army Specialist Alexis Hutchinson, an Oakland native, when she refused to fight in Afghanistan last year when she couldn't find childcare for her 1-year-old infant Kamani. We freed Dustin Stevens and disbanded the punishment platoon in Fort Bragg last year when Dustin and 50 other guys were facing long prison sentences for refusing to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan. And now we're proud to take up the case of Bradley Manning, 22-year-old intelligence agent, 22-year-old intelligence analyst who is facing over 50 years in prison for sharing the video Collateral Murder with the Wikileaks website.
publicly critical of Bush's use of government intelligence in leading us into the war in Iraq. He gave morning CIA briefings to Ronald Reagan and to George Bush the First. I'd like to invite Ray McGovern to the microphone.
Hey, can you hear me? Yeah. Great. Wow, what a nice turnout here in honor of Bradley Manning. It's an honor for me to be here, and it's an honor for me to look out and see the sea of faces that feel the same way, that a truth teller needs to be supported. Bradley Manning was had special entree or special access to privileged information, which he decided he needed to release or get released to the likes of us. Privileged information that, in a word, shows that war is a racket and that it leaves lots of people killed, maimed, and or brutalized for life.
Ann Wright is a colonel and retired official of the U.S. State Department. She was one of 3 State Department officials to publicly resign in direct protest of the invasion of Iraq. I'd like to invite Ann to the microphone.
Well, thank you, Nancy. It's great to be here in San Francisco. It's great to be here to be standing up for a brave, brave young soldier, Bradley Manning. A brave soldier who is saying to his own military that I know what my obligations and responsibilities are as a military person, that I am supposed to, by military regulation, report when I see criminal actions being conducted by members of our military. And that's all it's about. That's all he's saying, is I am reporting a crime that's been done. And yet the military says, yeah, but we've classified that information. So because it's classified, the criminal acts committed by employees of the Department of Defense, that you can't tell it. You can't say anything about it because we've classified it. Well, that's not right. That's not right, and that's why we do have this thing called, that the military has the obligation to report. As you know, the Nuremberg trials prove that indeed it's a responsibility of people to intervene when they see criminal acts. That's why you all are here, because you all are witnessing. You all are the ones that are. It's not going to be about disclosing classified information. It's what was the information to start with. It was that we saw on Collateral Murder, the video that he's allegedly to have given out, that, by golly, if any of us had seen it, I hope we would have had the nerve to disclose it too, don't you? I mean, that is a horrible, what those helicopter pilots did was outrageous and criminal. It was criminal. You saw it. I mean, first they shot people that they were saying were insurgents. And then that one poor guy that was still alive, that was crawling, barely crawling. And here the decision, oh, are we going to kill him right here? And the little laughter, ha, ha, ha. We'll take him out. We can take him out. And then the big van drove up, a big van. And people were coming out to help these people who had been shot. They didn't know why they'd been shot, but they just saw fellow citizens that were on the ground dying, and they were coming to their aid. And in the front seat of the car, and you could see it in that video, and those helicopter pilots, if they didn't see it, they're blinder than bats. We're sitting 2 little kids right there in the front seat. Who were in those vans? Well, reporters were in the vans. And you heard on that video, they're going to get him. They're going to take him away. We need to shoot him. We need to shoot all of them. Well, there is a real reason why Bradley Manning had to disclose that. I mean, those are criminal acts. I mean, that's called murder. That's sitting in your helicopter and blowing the shit out of people that are just there to help other people. And those are the same men and women flying in those helicopters for our U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan, in Pakistan, that are going to be coming back right here to San Francisco.
Our next speaker is a former United States military analyst. In 1971, he released the Pentagon Papers. The papers were top secret DoD info about the U.S. involvement in Vietnam. Ray mentioned the documentary film, The Most Dangerous Man in America, Daniel Ellsberg in the Pentagon.
Okay, I took a picture here to send to Bradley Manning's aunt by email. I was speaking to her just 2 days ago. She'll be seeing him in a week. And he'll be, as she said, he's feels very supported by the people outside. He's very happy to hear it. So we'll be able to show him the pictures of these, which are very good. Here, we don't know what Bradley Manning did. There hasn't been a trial. He hasn't pled, actually. We haven't heard much from him directly, or anything really from him directly, especially when he was incommunicado in Kuwait. But we do know that the Army singled him out to accuse him and charge him with whistleblowing. So he must have done something right. And it's essential that whoever it was, and that Bradley Manning, for whatever he did, is not the last to tell the truth. And the more we express support for him here, and we show what we think of the actions of blowing the whistle and telling the truth, the more chance we will learn more truth. I was listening that I hope that he has exposed to people in the government is that it's possible to act on their recognition of the hopelessness or the murderousness of what they are doing. Two members of the military that Ray mentioned, Josh Stieber and Ethan McCord, who were involved in that action. One of them in the same company that of the Apache helicopters, and another who was actually there on the ground and rescued the two children, and later apologized to the Iraqi people for the murder that was happening every day. I to say Bradley Manning, as I say, that identification from the military. It was worth it for whoever did that, and it's worth it for him facing charges right now. He is reported to have said, "I'm ready to go to prison for life or even be executed." Now, does that show in itself what some people have inferred about him, an unstable and unbalanced state of mind? What are we talking about here? This is a war which most of the American public right now wishes we weren't in. 38% support what we're doing. Close to 60% say that they would like it to be over. They're tired of it. They don't believe in it. But just how bad is it? Is it just a waste of money? God knows it is that. The main effect of our presence there is to recruit for the Taliban. That is the main effect that it has. The more troops we send, the stronger they get. That was the same in Vietnam, and it was predictably the same here. So we're spending $100 billion a year to recruit for the Taliban. That's could be said to be a waste of money, and money that we obviously need in many other ways. But that's Bagram up and other bases in Afghanistan for what they don't call permanent use, what they call enduring use, like 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, like the 60 years of our bases in Japan and Germany and Korea, which they're talking about as a direct analogy. Except these will be bases where people are flying from to kill, where Americans will be dying and killing, mainly killing, I think for a very long time. And that's 100 billion or more a year for how long? That adds up to $1 trillion in 10 years, and it could easily be that.
Can we hear a thank you, Bradley Manning? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Bradley Manning!
You're the man. Right on.
Can we get a fist or a peace sign up in the air?
Free Bradley. Free Manning. Free Bradley Manning. Free Bradley Manning. Free all whistleblowers.
So if folks are ready to march, we're going to ask the front banner to move on the sidewalk up to the corner.